All right, Kevin, back with you for another episode of the Million Dollar Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Ari Galper. Ari, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show today.
Great to see you again, Kevin. Glad to be here as well.
Yeah, and this is really cool because I get to kind of start by honoring two people because you and I actually met years ago
That's
through
right.
Dan Kennedy before GKIC was ever even a thing.
Yeah, yeah. Early days.
Yeah, now we're dating ourselves a little bit. So,
We're still standing.
and then more recently, you and we got reconnected because of Brianna over at Interview Valet. And man, I'll tell you what, I love Brianna because probably once or twice a month she reaches out to me and she's like,
Sure.
Kev, she goes, I've got this person I want to connect you with. I think they'd be a great person for you to interview for your podcast. And not once has she steered me wrong. So I always look forward to her emails. Are kind of like Christmas time, Ari. Every time I get one, I'm like, ooh, I wonder what's in here, So it's
Right.
good to have somebody whose emails land in your inbox like that.
Definitely.
It's so, and I gotta say, and I know I mentioned this to you before that we hit the record button here. Your emails, man, I love getting your emails too because you just put. I mean, you put all these LinkedIn posts up with just sharing amazing insight when it comes to relationships and building trust. And I'll tell you, with me, Ari, man, there's so much alignment there for me because over the years I have come to discover that relationships and trust are two of the most valuable assets that we have, as entrepreneurs. And when we have that, and your topic specifically is trust-based selling, and not the bro marketing stuff, but the heart to heart that really I don't, because when I'm having sales conversations with somebody that I know that I can help, it's not like, it doesn't feel like the typical sales conversation. It's just a heart to heart conversation about finding out and just digging into the problems and challenges they're dealing with, the opportunities that they want to take advantage of, and finding out, are we in a position to help them do that? And it's really cool place to be coming from, and I'm just stoked to be doing this interview with you today. And so, what I want to do is I just want to start by turning it over to you so that we can set a little bit of context. And why don't you start? We can talk about what you do and who you serve and what inspires you to do the work you do and all that. But I want to start with the backstory because I want to make sure everybody gets to hear your story because it's an amazing story.
Sure. Well, I had quite a pivotal moment that happened to me about 20 years ago that kind of shifted my whole thinking to this body of work. And I'll
Okay.
share the story and kind of give you some context behind it. But just quickly, I'll mention I'm from the U.S. I now live in Australia. I live in Sydney, for those who don't know that. But obviously, I do a lot of work via Zoom. But we have a bunch of coaches. But that's kind of some context where I am geography-wise.
Hmm.
Um, but the story behind what happened to me was I used to work for an online website tracking company called Website Story years ago. They were bought by Google after a couple purchases, and they did the online website tracking data collection. Now it's called Google Analytics. You probably heard of that before.
Yep.
But they did one of the original programs around that. I was managing 18 people underneath me at the time, salespeople.
Okay.
And it was really hot. That was when the internet was kind of taking off. I'll never forget, I got an inbound phone call from the website. It was a whale, a big opportunity. I got the phone call, and the guy introduced himself. He belongs to a huge company that has multiple websites, and I was pretty excited. If I closed this one deal, it'd be worth a lot to the company, almost double the revenue in one transaction. That's how big it was. So this contact and I agreed to a conference call and a live demo on a Friday afternoon. Never forget it, 4 o'clock. And the day finally came. I'm in the conference room with my CEO. There's a big conference table in the middle of that room, and on the table is the old school speakerphone. Remember the Star
I
Trek?
remember those.
Three
Yep.
legs on there. I think Omnicom was called or something like that. And then I hit the speakerphone button, and I dial the number, and my contact answers the line. He said, "Hey, Ari, how's it going?" I said, "Good." And he says to me, "Ari, let me tell you who's with us on the phone line today." I said, "Great." Next thing I hear is, "Hi, my name is John. I'm CEO." I was like, "Oh my God, perfect." "My name is Mike. I'm head of global IT." Amazing. "My name is Julie. I'm head of global marketing." Incredible. Everybody on this call was a decision maker. If it's going to happen, It's going to happen today. This is the crown of the jewels of the company, right? So I stayed calm. I introduced myself to everybody, and we had them all log into a kind of a webinar demo style program we had back then to show them a live demo of one of their websites being live, collected all their information. This was all new back then. So they all logged in, and I started walking through the demo and showing them how it all worked. And I started hearing this noise on the phone call like, wow, this is great. This is amazing. I can't believe we can see all this. They start asking me all kinds of questions. How does it work? How do we install it? How does the tech work? And of course, I had all the answers. I was answering their questions. There was so much chemistry on this phone call, Kevin. It was like a love fest on the phone.
Yeah.
They got the questions. I got the answers. It's like, man, this is so good. I'm getting the high five back here from my boss. He's like, yeah, nice. And honestly, it was a fantastic call. I was just answering questions, doing my normal thing, not aggressive at all, but just being competent. I was trained by the gurus, had the books on my shelves, doing everything I was supposed to do.
Yep.
And the call comes to a close about an hour later, and my contact says to me, Ari, this is great. We love it. Give us a call a couple of weeks, follow up with us, and we'll move this thing forward. I was like, oh, thank you, God. It's like the dream come true. And I said my goodbyes. I took my hand to reach for the speakerphone. As I'm reaching for the speakerphone, by complete accident, now I say divine intervention, my thumb hit the mute button instead of the off button. They were right next to each other, and I hit the wrong button. A small click happened, and they thought I hung up the phone. That's the second. A voice inside of me said, Ari, go to the dark side. Be a fly on the wall. Go where no one's ever gone before. And I pulled back for a moment. They thought I hung up the phone, and they started talking amongst themselves, thinking I had left the call. Now, what would you imagine they would have said after a call like that? I mean, it was pretty positive. You would imagine hearing things like what? Like,
yeah, this sounds pretty interesting. And what do you guys think?
Yeah, that's what I was waiting to hear. But let me share with you what I heard verbatim, word for word. Okay. That's why we're all here today. Here's what he said. Here's what they said. They said, we're not going to go with him. Keep using him for more information. And make sure we shop someplace else cheaper.
Wow.
That was a heart twist. Kevin, I was in a state of shock. I had enough energy to hit that off button, blew the wall, and I said to myself, what did I do wrong? I was competent. I was professional. I answered their questions. I delivered value. I did everything I was taught to do, but here they felt comfortable not telling me the truth.
Yeah.
And I realized there's something dysfunctional going on in the sales process.
Yeah.
Very dysfunctional. This is wrong to do this to other people when they're telling you the truth up front. And I said to myself, I've got to figure out a way to shift the entire industry of selling to a new mental place. So this trust building only with the goal of not making the sale at first, but the goal of getting people to feel comfortable telling you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that became a whole shift called Unlock the Game for the last 2 decades with millions of followers now following me around the concept that the irony of the whole thing is when you build trust with somebody consciously, by default, you make more sales you can ever imagine without even chasing the sale anymore. Yeah. It's a kind of a weird concept because you got to let go of all the junk you're carrying with you. The whole follow-up thing and the relationship thing, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Yeah. And all that free consulting we do and all that education we do for free. See, we're thinking that's our goal, but the goal is not to do that. The goal is trust building. That became a premise behind our whole trust-based selling movement for the last 2 decades.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So, okay. So 2 decades you've been doing this now, and that was the experience that, man, I got to do something about this because this ain't just happening to me. This is happening to so many people. Yeah.
And it's happening right now as we speak. I'm sure someone listening to this going,
oh, yeah.
It happened to me today. I'm chasing them and no word back.
Yes. Well, and people get ghosted all the time, don't they? I mean, that's a really common thing. And
yeah.
And so is the problem what you just said, that it's lack of trust, right? Is that the problem?
Yeah, ghosting should never happen. The only reason why they ghosted you is because they didn't trust you in your process.
Yeah.
You see, they're hiring you or they're deciding whether to work with you based upon your approach, not your solution. See, we think they want to know about our solution. So what do? The minute someone says, here's my problem, we go, great, I can help you with that.
Yep.
You bypass the whole trust building process. So we do a lot of work around this contrarian thinking to let go of all that obligation that you think you've been doing the old way. Most of the people who are listening to this call have been around for a while, grew up in what I call the know, like, and trust model. Mm-hmm. Where you got to know someone first, they got to like you first. Once they like you, then they trust you, then you do business together.
Yeah.
And I miss those days. Those are wonderful. You had met someone for a cup of coffee and you did some business together. After COVID, man, it wiped all that out. Mm-hmm. Now what's happening is you're being shopped by somebody who's been around to 3 other people just like you, and they're answering questions, picking your brain, and then off they go to somebody else. That's what the world's become. Mm-hmm. It's become commoditized. So that's what we address in a different way.
So how do we avoid that, Ari? Because none of us want that. We want to have conversations with people that we can help, and we want to have conversations that are based on trust.
Yes. So the way you shift this process is you have to first shift your own thinking from solution-centric thinking to problem-centric thinking.
Okay.
Where the conversation with somebody you have for a first meeting, whatever, is only about them 100% and nothing about you. Not talking about you, what you do. See, here's how usually most meetings begin. Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. Oh, let me tell you about little Mamie, and here's a plan for today, and tell me a little about you. And then it becomes this kumbaya conversation. But what it never does is never shifts to a problem-centric conversation where it's more of a doctor-patient framework, where you're diagnosing their problem. You see, we're so wedded to relationship building, we want them to like us first.
Yes. Yeah.
The irony of all this is, Kevin, they don't even have to like you to trust you.
That's right. That's right.
When you go see your doctor, do we like all of our doctors? Some we do, some we don't. But we comply with their process because they focus on our problems. So that's what we teach people. We teach them how to deep dive inside the problem in that first conversation when they schedule with somebody, and then onboard them in what I call the one-call sale framework. Okay. In one meeting, you can make a sale with somebody. I don't mean a signed contract. I mean a yes or no based on the truth. That's the whole framework that we teach people.
Okay. Gotcha. So this is really good stuff. So, well, I'm just thinking here for a minute because, so you said that when we have trust, there isn't any ghosting and stuff. And I know there's a lot of people who get ghosted a lot. I mean, this is a really common thing. And so when you say that should never happen.
Correct. I know.
So how does
it's pretty radical, I know.
Yeah.
The concept of never chasing anybody ever again sounds impossible.
But it also sounds like you get my attention. It's like, I would really like that if that was possible.
Yeah, it sure is. It happens every day to our clients who learn this. The rest of the people don't. They have to deal with the pain of chasing. So here's one quick tip to help people right now who are in the chasing cycle. Yeah. We have a bunch of people who had a warm conversation with them, but they're not committing. Okay. And they're now chasing them. Here's the first rule. Number one rule is never again use the word follow-up the rest of your life as of today.
Okay. All right.
Never say it over the phone. Never put an email. And this might hurt just a bit for those people listening who just did this morning and said, hi, I'm calling to follow up on a lot of the conversation. Because the word follow-up is a sales word. Follow-up moves them forward, puts pressure on them. That's the worst phrase to ever use in your entire life if you're selling. Okay. Here's what you say instead. I'm just giving you a call to see if you have any feedback on our previous conversation. Any feedback on our last meeting. Any feedback on the proposal. Feedback's going backwards, away from the sale, not towards the sale. See, your job is to remove all the pressure that they feel from you by the fact you're pursuing them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you shift that with the language that you use so they go, oh, yeah, well, let me tell you what's on my mind. See, your goal is the truth, not the sale. Yeah. If you focus on the sale, you put pressure on them. You focus on the truth using our what we call trust-based languaging, that elicits the truth. and you know where you stand. That's kind of level number one, to clean up the pipeline that's now floating in midair and getting colder every single day. They can't reach somebody.
That's right. That's right. Man, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So this is really radical stuff a lot of people are going to be hearing this going, man, Kev, I really am glad you interviewed Ari. I got to find out more about him, and we'll make sure we deliver on that too. But what is an example of a result that you've helped one of your clients get that you are just incredibly proud of, Ari? Because I know this is going to be good. And
well, I'll tell you, we work with folks who are in the quadrant of what I call low volume, high margin businesses, high ticket sales, long sales cycle, normally services businesses like financial advisors, entrepreneurs, software, anything that is a long-term valuable relationship. Those are usually the long sales cycle ones. Okay. So our best success stories are folks who are in that quadrant who come to us and say, help me stop chasing people. Help me start converting all of my leads. I go, okay. First thing we have to do is we got to do an intervention. I have to give you permission to stop doing a few things. One is stop flexing. Okay. Stop delivering value. Stop educating them, and stop building a relationship with them. They go, what? That's what selling is. Mm-hmm. I gotta deliver value. They gotta get to know me. I go, no, selling in itself is the problem. Stop selling. What? And how am I gonna start learning a new skill set called how to create trust with people? Yeah. It's something you don't know how to. Now you do it naturally with your kids and your family, but when you get to work, you put a hat on that says, I gotta make the sale. Mm-hmm. Now, overtly, you're not aggressive. Obviously, you're a nice person with them on Zoom or whatever. But in the back of your mind, you're doing all you can do on that treadmill to get them to prove to them you can do the job. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So our success stories come from people who shift from selling to become the doctor. And what they do, I'll give you an example. So what happens is this. Let's say the first lead coming through and they schedule a first meeting with you, say on Zoom or Teams or whatever. Okay? So they show up on Zoom or Teams, and you show up. What usually happens is people go, hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Well, they have a bit of a chit-chat conversation. Then it kind of flows left and right, and then it's about an hour long. At the end, the guy says to you, I want to think about it. You're like, what the? Oh, my, that's an hour of my time. They're not going to. So here's how we change the game, okay? We start what I call going down the iceberg with somebody. So when they show up on Zoom, first thing you say is this. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. That's it. Know how you heard about us. How's the game last night? I love your jacket. Hey, no more fake rapport. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then you say this. This is the first question above the iceberg. It goes like this. If it's okay with you, Mike, if you wouldn't mind, take a step back for a moment. Walk me through your background, your situation, up to your current business challenges or financial challenges you plug in, whatever you do, your marketing challenges, and we'll go from there. Would that be okay with you? Mm-hmm. You take your fingers like this, put over your mouth, so you won't keep talking, and sit back like a doctor. Train yourself not to speak. It's going to be so hard at first for people who are used to the whole, the relationship building piece. They know that's fake. They know it's a game. They know it's rapport. You have to remove that piece out. Now, I'm not saying be clinical and cold. I'm saying you still be empathetic and warm. But I'm saying start with their problem at hello. Mm-hmm. Notice how I asked the question. I said, I asked permission twice. So if it's okay with you, if you wouldn't mind, take a step back for a moment, Kevin. Maybe walk me through your situation, your background, up to your current challenges. We'll go from there. Would that be okay with you? It resets the moment. Yeah. And then they realize, oh, I've got to start talking now. Yeah. Yeah, it's about you, not about me. Mm-hmm. When you go to a doctor, they say who their patients are, where they went to school, and no, they say to you, where does it hurt? Yeah. Yeah. Same concept. Well, we're not used to that. If we're selling, we're used to the woo, right? And then from there, they'll share with you what their problems are. They'll download on you right there. You'll see. It's amazing. Yeah. And then as you're listening, your instinct, as you hear their problem, will be to do what? Most people do what in the back of their mind?
Solving their problem for them.
Yes. I tell my clients, stop solving the problem. Stop being the pharmacist. Be the doctor with them for a moment here. Just focus on the problem and listen and be present. I know it's hard to let go because the experts, they've heard the problem so many times, it's not new for them. So they go, bing, I can fix that. Let me show you my way.
Yeah.
So what they do instead is they listen, and what they do is they crystallize the core issue back to the client. They go, so what I'm hearing from you is your core issue is X, Y, Z, is that right? And the guy goes, yeah, exactly. Tick box number 1, the guy says, this guy is listening to me. I can trust him so far. He's hiring you on your approach, not your offering. He's judging you on how you're handling him. If you try to intercept, create chemistry and momentum and conversation, it's over. They know it's a sales conversation. It's a real shift. It's a moment of truth where you take a stand and sit back and stay calm and be what I call centered. Don't engage. Just go down the iceberg with these questions. I'm giving you them right now, everybody. Here's the best question to ask. How long has this been a concern for you for? Well, the last 6 months, da-da-da. Okay. What have you done so far on your own to address this? You see what I'm doing here? I'm peeling back the onion. I'm going deeper inside their world. See, if I don't do this, they'll stay at the surface level above the iceberg, and so will you, and it'll go nowhere. No trust is created. Trust is only created when they feel understood by you.
Yeah.
When they feel understood by you is by you unpacking their problem to such a deep extent that you're the only person who's done this, and they say to themselves, man, this guy just gets me.
Yeah.
He's got me.
Yeah.
That's a sample of our model there.
That is brilliant stuff. Okay. My inclination is keep asking you more questions about this, but I'm not gonna, because this podcast is a little bit different. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave our listeners hanging for a minute, Ari, and I'm gonna I'm going to leave you hanging for a little bit, but I'm also going to circle back around and make sure we take care of you too. So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit here, and I want to ask you a question. So the question I want to ask you is, have you ever met or been introduced to a person or persons who completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And Ari, I'm totally stoked to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Well, I'm going to say, in terms of my business,
okay,
both you and I know Dan Candy was a real center of my learning around the whole marketing piece. Perry Marshall was amazing with me. I'm still a friend of his in terms of how to look at the process in an engineered way. They gave me the bolts and mechanics for the engine.
Okay.
Now the oil and all the fluids came from my son, Toby, who has Down syndrome. And he's 21 years old right now. I wrote a book about him when he was 5 called Lessons from Toby. Things I learned about him, how to treat people, how to listen to people. Because if you know someone has Down syndrome, you know they're very beautiful people. They're transparent, they're loving, they have no hidden agenda. They don't talk about themselves. And I learned from him how to be this way. He influenced me on my whole philosophy for how to be present with people without having a hidden agenda.
Yeah.
And that's a big, huge piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Just being able to be fully present in the moment with someone. And what you teach is that, because when we just ask questions and then shut up and listen, and let other people, and then you're asking, like what you teach, you're asking more questions based on what they just shared with you, and I've been this inquisitive guy for years. Sometimes I irritate my wife because I ask so many questions, but with entrepreneurs, it's been so rewarding, and without even realizing, I've built, like what you said, trust with so many people over the last 30 years because I ask questions and I'm genuinely interested in hearing them. Like you said, with no agenda whatsoever, just to get to know them and stuff. And what happens, we end up giving them this gift that they so seldom get to receive, which is this gift of feeling seen, heard, and understood. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And man, what a beautiful gift that your son gave you, and that now that you're able to give so many other people.
It's hard for people in this day and age when we're all so chaotic with text and social media and all those crazy things in the world right now to be present with people because our mind is so distracted and we're so focused on our own goals. And part of this is deep diving inside their world and staying inside there and not getting out until they say to you this. And here's the shift. When they say to you, how can you help me? Mm-hmm. Then you've arrived and the sale is made before you discuss your solution. This is the weirdest thing about this. They are buying you, not your solution.
Yeah.
We think they want to know all about our stuff.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about a case study. Let me tell you how it works. Oh yeah, we start selling our solution too prematurely to them trusting you. We wonder why we're chasing people. Yeah. Why they're not committing on the first meeting? Because we messed it up. We're adding stuff in they don't want to hear. They don't care about how you solve their problem. All they care about at first is, are you the one to solve it?
Yeah.
Once you get that piece first, the rest is onboarding, not chasing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this flies in the face of all traditional selling.
Totally.
That we've
totally
for years. The long sales cycle, relationship, over deliver on value. No, value's been commoditized. Stop delivering value until after they pay you, not before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That's hard for people to hear this because
it is.
Their whole conditioning, their whole life has been that. But they got to upgrade their skill set to a trust level to compete in a new economy, which has now been commoditized.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. This can be hard to swallow for somebody because you're thinking in the back of your head, well, if I don't deliver value, how do they know that I can deliver? But what you're saying,
that's a great point because we think they're judging our efficacy, the ability to solve the problem. But the irony of the whole thing is they can't judge your efficacy until after their client, not before.
Yeah.
By you telling them everything verbally, they don't believe a word you're saying. Mm-hmm. They know it's just air.
Yeah.
They know you have an agenda. So you stay safe in a bubble when you're inside their world. You go to your world, you're dead. You can't talk about yourself. You're not, here's the thing. They show up for the first meeting with you. They assume you have credibility. They saw your website, they saw your LinkedIn profile, they know you're professional. They're not going to show up if they think you're like a homeless person who does nothing. Obviously, you're professional. They've showed up. They're not questioning your credibility. Mm-hmm. They're questioning, can they trust you?
Yeah.
Stop selling. Learn how to build trust instead.
Man, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. So I know we got a lot of people listening to this right now going, man, Kevin, I really like and appreciate what Ari is saying here. And I could sure go for a whole lot more like what he's talking about in my life. And I do want to create trust with people. And because I'm sure there's a lot of people that have lost a lot of sales. And in the back of their head, they're like, I know I can help that people. I can help that person, and I didn't get the sale. And they're really listening to what you, Sharon, and like, man, I could go for a whole lot more of that. So how can people find out more? How can they get more insight and more info from you, Ari?
The best way is to start shifting your thinking by getting my newest book called Trust in a Split Second.
Okay.
You can get a free copy. Mail. We'll cover the postage in an envelope. We'll mail it to you. Just go to thetrustbook.com.
All right.
Order the book there, and on your way out, you can have a chance to schedule a consultation for 30 minutes to have me or one of my team work with you to unpack your blockages internally, to give you insights to help you. And you'll see in real time how we do that, to learn from how we do things. So honestly, I think the best way, if you're serious about this, go to thetrustbook.com, order the book, schedule a chat, and experience what it's like not to be sold.
I love that. I love that. I love that. That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, Ari, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today and just share from your heart. Any last thing do you feel led to share before we call it a wrap?
I feel like, this experience I told you that happened to me 20 years ago
Yeah.
is like 1,000x now. That we're in a
Totally.
world with trust being its lowest level in our society.
Yeah.
Politics, as you know, society, business. If you're going to ace or master anything now as a new skill to compete in the new world, especially with AI coming, you have got to master the art of trust consciously, not socially, okay? And if you don't do this now, you'll be so commoditized, you'll be shopped to death, and you'll have a hard time improving your sales conversion rate because you'll be playing the numbers game, thinking your problem is more leads and not conversion. The issue is always conversion at the end of the day because we blame it on our leads, but it's actually you're the problem, not the leads. So as long as you're humble enough to change internally and recognize it's time to upgrade yourself from the previous conditioning, you'll be fine in the future. But if you don't, I feel for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, once again, thank you so much, Ari, for taking the time to have this conversation today. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you. And I'm excited to get this out there and share it with a lot of other entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kevin.
You bet.